Did the US actually try to ban Chinese higher education? Can they even do such a thing? Why is the US on such a banning kick right now anyways? Well, on May 7th, 2025, with a vote of 266 to 153, yes, that means both sides voted for it, the US House of Representatives passed HR881. Well, it will now go up for vote in the Senate. The very title of the bill is DHS Restrictions on Confucius Institute and Chinese Entities of Concern Act. And what is of concern right now in the academia realm is what the US government meant by Chinese entities of concern. Hello and welcome back to Ruben Tech, where we discuss the intersection of tech, politics, and finance. I would like to thank you for watching and ask that if you haven't liked and subscribed yet to do so right now. And if you want to further support the channel, I have memberships available for the cost of a cup of coffee. Let's get back to today's story. So what we're going to do first is go through the bill from congress.gov, which is the official site of the US House of Representatives. Here's the title of the bill, which we already read, and this is brought up by Representative Pfluger. He is from, I believe, North Carolina, and indeed it has passed the House and is on its way to the Senate. Let's go ahead and read the summary. The bill restricts funding to an institute of higher education, i.e. a college or university, that has a relationship with a Confucius Institute, Thousand Talents Program, or Chinese entity of concern. The bill defines Confucius Institute as a cultural institute funded by the Chinese government. 2. Thousand Talents Program is any technological or educational program funded or administered by Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. And 3. Chinese entity of concern is generally any university or college in China that is involved in Chinese military, police, or intelligence activities. Specifically, the Department of Homeland Security must ensure that an IHE that has awarded a contract to, entered into agreement with, or received an in-kind donation or gift from a Confucius Institute, Thousand Talents Program, or Chinese entity of concern is ineligible to receive any funds from DHS. And understand when I say any, it literally means any. Like if you have a university in Florida that gets hit by a hurricane and FEMA would have funds to give to the university, not anymore. Unless the IHE terminates the relationship, the IHE may regain eligibility for these funds upon termination of the relationship. And why exactly are higher institutions being asked to comply with this? Well, according to Congressman Pat Harrigan, is to block Chinese influence in American universities. Concerns cited including preventing the Chinese Communist Party, otherwise known as the CCP, from allegedly using U.S. universities to steal data and spread propaganda and undermine our national security, and to assert that American research is not for sale. This framing positions national security as the paramount driver for the legislation. The bill therefore represents a specific legislative instrument targeting academic institutions as potential conduits for perceived national security threats emanating from China. And of course, it's going to employ financial leverage, i.e. DHS funding, as its primary enforcement mechanism. Now, of course, prominent U.S. higher education associations, including the American Council on Education, otherwise known as ACE, and the Association of American Universities, AAU, have registered strong opposition to H.R. 881. Their concerns are multifaceted. Overly broad definitions is the primary objection, and that is that the definition of Chinese entities of concern is excessively broad. It is feared that this definition can encompass the majority of Chinese colleges and universities, if not all, thereby effectively preventing collaboration with these institutions. This will in turn have an impact on beneficial activities, such as student exchange programs between the U.S. and Chinese institutions, study abroad opportunities for U.S. students in China, and crucial research and development initiatives on issues of national importance. And then, of course, there's compliance, confusion, and redundancy. The bill's definitions do not align with those utilized by other federal agencies, such as those established under the NSPM and existing Department of Defense list of entities of concern. This discrepancy is expected to create significant compliance confusions for institutions and represents a duplication of existing regulatory efforts. But the lunacy does not stop there. Remember, the bill does not specify what can and cannot be worked on. It is to prevent any and all collaborations between such entities. Thus, this would even include those that are in the domain of pure knowledge. Here on the screen to your left, I have made examples of US and Chinese collaborative physics papers. Yes, physics papers. The selected examples underscore robust US-Chinese collaboration across several key areas of physics. These include fundamental investigations into particle physics, accompanying both large-scale experimental efforts like the CMS collaboration at CERN and theoretical advancements in areas such as Feynman integral calculations. Condensed matter physics also feature prominently within joint research into novel materials like Moiré superstructures and theoretical explorations of phenomena such as Floquet systems and conformal field theories. And while you might not understand what any of these mean, the common thread in these collaborations is that there is involvement of globally leading research institutions from both countries, including, among others, MIT, Stanford, Peking University, Tsinghua University, and Shanghai Yao Tung University. Sorry about that. The research areas identified such as quantum materials, artificial intelligence, applications in science, particle physics, and synthetic biology are often at the forefront of scientific discovery and hold substantial potential for future technological advancements. Curtailing such international collaborations could have long-term implications for U.S. leadership and innovation in these strategic fields, particularly if other scientifically advanced nations continue to expand their research partnership with Chinese entities. This could potentially limit U.S. access to a global pool of talent, diverse perspectives, data, or complementary expertise. Or in other words, this is unfortunately a lose-lose situation for America. You know that when you start to restrict access to domains of pure knowledge, such as physics, mathematics, and philosophy, right? And technically it would apply to art. Sorry, I just thought about that though. It would apply to arts as any collaboration. But you know that when you are restricting access to the domain of knowledge of such fields like that, then you are absolutely on the losing side. There is no other way to frame it. So while I doubt that this bill is going to fail, at the very least, if you live in the US, call your senator and vocalize your opposition to it and let them know that it must be changed. The language must be refined. Understand that personally, I don't think a bill like this helps us in any way, shape, or form. However, if they're going to pass it, they got to make sure that such things as mathematics, literature, philosophy, economics, physics, that these things that have no relationship to national security, that they're allowed to continue to be worked upon. Okay, and real quick here, I want to address some comments. We have the best comment section in all of YouTube. This is going to be informal. I don't know how much I'm going to do this, but I thought I'd just shout out to some things that were brought up. First of all, yesterday, thank you for calling me out. I deserve to be called out on this. When I brought up the case of Meng, I did not go deep enough into the two Canadian citizens that were arrested. That was Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. Kovrig was convicted in a Chinese court and he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. And Spavor, when they both got back to Canada, he sued the federal government of Canada and Canadian courts for involving him in espionage activities without his knowledge. Okay. Spavor alleged that he provided Michael Kovrig with intelligence on North Korea, which Kovrig then secretly gave to the Canadian government and its Five Eyes allies without Spavor's permission, leading to their arrest and detention. So Spavor is alleging that Kovrig was indeed a spy and that his involvement was completely unintentional. Now, whether you choose to believe Spavor or not, Spavor, just note this, that the Canadian government settled with him for US $7 million. And in a statement following that, the Global Affairs of Canada, a government agency, denied that Kovrig was involved in espionage. What are they going to say? Yeah, he was a spy? I will leave that for you to determine your opinion on that. But just from what it sounds like, at the very least, according to Spavor himself, China had legitimate reason to arrest and detain these individuals, unlike what Joe Biden said. With that said, all of you out there, go out there and make it a great day. Don't rely on anyone else to make it a great day. You have a great day. I love you all. Take care.